Texas, Florida, and California. Who's number one? Coming up next. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to MJPTV, where we put track and field first. I'm MJP, and I just want to thank you for clicking on my video. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. It's free 99. So just want to thank you again for clicking on my video. So today we'll be looking at the top 25 times from the past 10 years from athletic.net, looking at the 100, the 200, and the 400 between California, Texas, and Florida. I didn't include any other states because for the most part, these are the big three when it comes to track and field. So if I left out your state, sorry, we might do that at a later date, but these are the three we're going to focus on today. And so just to reiterate, we'll be looking at top 25 times, the top three finishers, and the number one time in the nation, according to athletic.net. So sorry if anything is off just because their database isn't the biggest, right? So take everything with a grain of salt, but we're going to answer the question anyway. And so the way I decided to structure this video is that points will be awarded based on how many top 25s are from each state. And so each one is worth a single point, and those will be added up and tallied at the end of the video. All right, so now looking at the 100 meters top 25 performers. For the women, California led the way with 64 points, Florida had 35, and Texas had 26. And then for the men, Texas led the way with 49 points, California with 45, and Florida with 41. And so in total, California had 109 points combined, Florida had 76, and Texas had 75. And so for the 100 meters of the top 25, these three states accounted for 52% of the entire list. Now looking at the 200 meters, top 25 performers. So for the women, California led the way with 64 points, Florida had 45, Texas had 36. And then for the men, California led the way again with 46, Florida had 43, and Texas had 41. So in total for the 200, California led the way with 110 total, Florida had 88, and Texas had 77. And so in the 200 meters, these three states accounted for 55% of the entire list over the past decade. All right, now looking at the 400 meters, top 25 performers. For the women, California led the way again with 36 points, Florida had 26, and Texas tied with 26. And so for the men, Texas led the way with 40 points, and Florida and California both tied with 34. And so for the 400 meters, California led the way with 70 points total, Texas had 66, and Florida had 60. And so it's a little bit less here, but they accounted for 39% of all entries in the top 25 over the past decade. All right, now tallying up the points for all the events. For the women, California came out on top with 164 points. Florida came in second with 106, and Texas came in third with 88. And so for the men, Texas was on top with 130, California close behind with 125, and Florida not too far behind that with 118. And so looking at overall, California had 289 points, Florida had 224 points, and Texas had 218 points. And so these three states accounted for 49% of all top 25 entries in the 1, the 2, and the 400 meters over the past decade from 2010 to 2019. All right, now looking at the top three performers for our three events. In the 100 meters, the women of Florida had 10 points, California had 6, and Texas had 2. And so looking at the men, Texas led the way in the 100 meters with 8 points, Florida with 7, and California with 8. And so Florida in total led the way with 17 points, California came in second with 11, and Texas had 10. And so of the top three performers each year the past decade, 63% of all top three runners came from these states. Okay, now looking at the 200 meters top three performers. For the women, Florida had 11 points, California was close behind with 10, and Texas had none. And then for the men, California led the way with 8 points, Florida had 7, and Texas came in third with 5. So in total, Florida had 18 points, and they were tied with California at the top, again with 18. And then Texas came in third with 5 points. And so for the 200, 68% of all top three performers in the nation for the 200 meters came from these three states. Okay, now looking at the top three performers for the 400 meters. For the women, Florida led the way with 6 points, California just behind with 5, and Texas had 0. And so for the men, it's a similar story. Florida with 6, California with 5, and Texas scored 4 points. And so in total, Florida led the way with 12, California came in second with 10, and Texas came in third with 4. So 43% of all top 3 finishers in the 400 meters came from these 3 states. And so looking at everything in total, for the women, Florida is on top with 27 points for top 3 performances across the 3 events. California came in second with 21, and Texas came in third with only 2. And so for the men, Florida is again on top with 20 points, with California not too far behind with 18 points, and Texas right behind them with 17 points. So in total, for top 3 performers, Florida leads the way with 47 points, California with 39, and Texas in third with 19. And so these 3 states account for 39% of all top 3 performers across all these 3 events in the 2010s. And finally, looking at US number 1, so for the women in the 100 meters, Florida had 4, tied with California, and Texas had 0 in the 100 meters. And the 200 meters for the women, Florida again had 4 number 1s, California tied them again with 4, and Texas had 0. And then for the 400 meters, Florida had 1 US number 1, California had another one to tie them, and Texas had 0 again. So in total for the women, Florida had 9 US number 1s in these 3 events over the past decade, tied with California. And so looking at the men, Texas leads the way in the 100 meters, tied with Florida with 3 US number 1s over the past decade. California coming in third with 1 US number 1. And so for the 200, Texas had 2 US number 1s, California tied them again with 2, and Florida had 1. And then for the 400 meters, Florida is on top with 3 US number 1s, California also ties them with 3, and Texas rounds it out with 1. And so in total for the men, it's Florida on top barely with 7 points, Texas and California tied for second with 6 points. And so these 3 states in all, men and women, accounted for 62% of all US number 1s across the 100, the 200, and the 400 meters. And so depending on your definition of what makes a state the fastest, your answer may vary based on what you think qualifies your state as being number 1. So whether you look at just US number 1s or just top 3 performances, or as a whole having the most top 25 performances that year, your answer will vary. My answer, I'm biased. I'm sticking with Texas. So what do you think is the fastest state out of these 3? Make sure to leave your answer in the comments below for me. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. It's free. Free 99, the best price. But I just want to thank you guys for clicking on my video. Have a great day, and God bless.